All right. What's going on, everybody? How you? We're back again on another live stream doing our coffee and cigars. And as you can see, that little clip was from our local news station here in Baltimore called WBAL. It's Channel 11, and Brian was featured there about 10 days ago for the work that he's been doing with this thing called My Cozy Corner. So, next year before school begins or before school ends, I think Brian's going to be looking for some support to continue. He wants to do 35 total schools around the area. And these are little, like, as you can see in the video, these are areas like corners where students can come together and, game, socialize, read, and do all those things. So it's good work. Good work to Brian. Good work to Brian. Congratulations on being on the news and getting some more coverage. Mom, how are you today? Good to see you. How's everything going? It's been a long time. So we're here today again, and we are making coffee and smoking cigars, as we always do every Thursday night from about 8 to 10 p.m., depending on things. But today's coffee or today's cigar is going to be the St. Francis Toro from All Saints Cigar. That's going to be coming up in a little bit. But today we're going to start off with some coffee, as we always do. We're going to have some decaf Colombian. Those of you who might have been joining us this morning on the live stream on the main channel may be like, well, why are we doing that again? That's what I have around. But we're going to do a different brewing method, right? We're doing a different brewing device. We're using the Clever. This morning we used the Hario switch. So today we're using the Clever. And this is a nice little brewer. It's nice. What's there to say about it? It's clever. It's clever. You're smart by using it. I need one more, riser so we can see it. But this particular coffee, right? So I'm going to show you this coffee. This is the coffee here, right? So it's roasted on the 19th, so about 10 days old or 9 days old. Whoa. I'm always forgetting to turn these overhead cameras on. The problem is the overhead cameras, they're running like on a battery power. So I'm always trying to get them. I'm trying to save the battery. But anyway, it's a nice medium roasted coffee. Let me show you here. I'll put it on the, do a little bit of a sample. Zoom in some. There we are. We've got the coffee here and medium roasted. So this morning it had a real nice flavor, sweetness, really enjoyable. So hopefully today this evening, it's going to be relatively the same. That's really kind of why I decided to go with it, because I was like, ooh, it was so kind of tasty this morning that let me go back and do another round with it. So we're going to brew in the Avid Clever. The Clever is, of course, a full immersion brewer that you put the paper filter in. And we're just going to, since it is a flat bottom, conical shaped thing, we're just going to follow the natural folding of the seams here on the filter. And then I'm just doing opposing seams. Baldhead's with us. Hey, Baldhead, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming and joining us. We're here every Thursday, so, stay with us if you like, or hopefully have a good time. George is with us. Evening all. St. Francis Cigar of the Year, given by the Cigar Authority. You know what? I just saw a blurb about that. I hope it's going to be a good one. Cigar of the Year. Gosh, what kind of craziness is that? I can't believe it. Tony says, good evening, everyone. What's up, Tony? How are you, man? Good to have you. Okay, so we've got our we've got this. We're going to put the coffee in. And there we go. And Bald says he's smoking the first cigar of 2023. Well, let us know what cigar you're smoking for the first time this year. And Bald has been joining us on the morning coffee Q&A. And so I mentioned this show this morning. And he was like, oh, what's the channel? And he said, I haven't smoked cigars in a while. I'm trying it for the first time in a long time. Let us know what you're smoking. Let us know how it's going, too. So we've got a whole catalog of shows talking about coffee and cigars. And we rate the cigar. So there's actually a score sheet. So if you look in the description, you'll find the score sheet that we use. And if you're really into coffee, you'll notice there's some similarities between our score sheet for cigars and the score sheet for coffee. I kind of based a lot of it off of that. And then you can also find the rankings for the last 2 years. We started doing this in 2022 with the rankings, and hopefully it's something that I think will be reflective of the cigars themselves. All right, now we've got our coffee in here. So let us, I need to get a timer. We're going to add hot water. Let me just find the timer here. Timer. All right, timer's here. Good. And we're just going to take our hot water just off the boil, and we're going to drop in the water, saturating it. We want to have enough water in here to let it start to bloom. You can see some of the blooming happening. You know, you may be wondering, like, especially if you watch the morning show, you're probably like, why is it so much closer? Well, that's unfortunately the proximity of the camera to the actual brewing device is actually physically much closer. The other one I have to fly a little bit higher because of the angle of the main camera. Otherwise, if I dropped it too much lower, you'd be able to see it in the frame. So, all right, so past 30 seconds. Let's add the rest of our water. Going to give us roughly 350 grams of water. And really, once you've used this a lot, you can kind of ballpark it and know roughly how much you need. So we're going to wait 3 minutes for this to brew. And then we're going to drop it on and, do the thing here. We're kind of running quickly. Because how's everyone doing today? How's your week been? Everything been good? How's the weather? The weather here has been a bit on the cool side. I've been turning on the heat in the morning. That's not pleasant. Since Wednesday, I've turned on the heat. I don't like that. I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm okay in the cold weather. I'm not a fan. I'm not seeking it out. But I would like a little bit warmer days for a little while longer. Plus, it's starting to get dark earlier, and we're eventually going to get back to daylight savings time, or go back to standard time, and it's going to get dark at like 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm just going to whine about it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to whine about it because, there it is. Okay, 2 minutes, almost 2 minutes. We're still just kind of floating there. It's just, the one thing about this kind of brewing method is that you don't really have much to do for it. And Tony says that he's having off my father, La Gran Oferta Lancero. And, of course, the ubiquitous Diet Cherry Pepsi. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I don't know what I would do if you had said that you were going to have if you were drinking something else. Actually, last night I was thinking, yesterday I was thinking, I'm kind of into this whole idea of Oktoberfest, right? I'm not a big beer drinker. Like, I don't really drink beer, but I was like, I'm into Oktoberfest. I would like to have Schweinhaxen and all this, and then I want to go and get some stuff. And so I stopped by the wine source yesterday, and they had this bottle of Märzen Oktoberfest from Germany. And I was like, okay, I'm buying it. And I was going to use it for my cigar, right? I was going to smoke my cigar last night. Watch what did I watch? I watched the new Ahsoka, and then and I drank, I smoked my cigar, and then I remember. Then this morning I realized that I totally forgot about the beer. Totally forgot about it. All right, we're coming up in the 3 minutes, so we're going to take our little vessel here, and we're going to drop it on top. So you can kind of see there, it's flowing down, flowing down, flowing down. Flowing down. Let's come back with it a little bit. Ooh, going forward with it a little bit. So you can see. And Baldhead says, San Cristobal de la Habano Hermoso #1. Oh, nice. A La Casa del Habano special edition, December 2000. Oh, dude. You may not have, where are you? Oh, you may not have smoked for a while, but you're coming back with full force. Good Lord. Special edition 2005. Goodness, I don't know how many cigars I have that old. The one I smoked last night was a 2008, but baby, that's some serious stuff there. All right, so you can see it's falling down. And Baldhead says, I'm in Canada. Cubans are legal. Yes. So how is the pricing? Like, everybody, you read the forums and people are always like, oh, it's so expensive in Canada. And I remember years ago, like in the 90s and then early 2000, when you went to buy the Monte Cristo #2, like when you were in, I don't know, whenever it was in Vancouver or Toronto, it would be like $22. But I imagine it's more expensive. So how much are they now? Or how expensive are they now? And Tony says that's a very nice, well-aged. I totally agree with you. Totally agree. All right, let's get this out of the way. So we had, looks like a relatively right amount of time. We're still rolling out. Let me stop that craziness. And let's see here. Look at that. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Let's do a little pouring. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. It's definitely on the warmer side at the moment. Let me get these accoutrements out of the way. All right. So we've got it's kind of warm. Now, in case you're wondering, like this is a decaf coffee. This is a decaf coffee so that I can get some sleep tonight. Actually, I don't really have that. I don't know. I think I might have that problem now. Like, I remember a few weeks, maybe a month ago, I had a coffee or something later at night. And man, I had the toughest time going to bed. Like, I couldn't sleep till like almost 4 in the morning. It was really brutal. But I've never really had that problem. Or maybe I do. Maybe I've always had this problem and I always have bad sleep because I drink iced tea or Coke and Diet Coke and like coffee at any hour. Oh. You know what? This is not as nice as it was this morning. Could it be a difference in the switch? Or maybe it's still kind of hot. We'll wait a few moments to see what happens. And Baldhead says, F it expensive now. A box of Partagas SD4s is 700. Oh my gosh. On the in-during reservation. Whoa, that's. Well, then again, I mean, it had, like, I remember like last year, they started to raise the prices. Cuba Tobacco started raising the prices on the Habanos. And I was down in Sao Paulo and I stopped at this cigar lounge, beautiful cigar lounge. And so I don't know how much this beautiful Class A cigar lounge pricing had to do with it, but the Siglo 54s, Cohibas, were like $320 US. And I was like, a piece. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, we're not smoking those. I wish I could. I wish it'd be like 320, ain't no big deal. But I don't have Taylor Swift kind of money. I just can barely afford Swiffer kind of money. Different grind size. No, I didn't change the grinder since this morning. I don't know. It could be like maybe the water temperature is slightly different. Like I'll bring the water to a boil and then pull it off, probably within 3 minutes of starting the show. So if it takes me like 9 minutes to get to it, then that could also have an impact on it. It's just different. It's not worse. It's just different. But like I said, this is a decaf coffee, and it's using sugarcane processed decaf, which really means that you're using ethyl acetate. So you take the cane, you ferment it, you then make it into ethyl acetate, ethyl alcohol. You mix that with acetic acid, and you have ethyl acetate. I'm trying to speak. And then you use that as a component in the processing of the coffee. You steam the coffee, you put it in boiling water, which then sucks, which is basically like brewing coffee, right? So you put the green coffee in hot water, it extracts the flavor and the caffeine just like it's doing here. You use the ethyl acetate to separate the caffeine from the flavored water, and then you basically take the flavored water, put it back into the now empty beans, dry it all together, and then it's supposed to infuse the flavor back into it, which does result in a lot of damage to the bean and cellular structure, which causes it to be darker and harder to roast and harder to tell how dark is it in the roaster. There's all kind of things that are kind of funky with decaf coffee. But earlier today, I was like, well, I was really pleasantly surprised at how nice it was. I ended up drinking the rest of that this morning. It's bright. It's a bright coffee now. Not necessarily tremendously brighter than this morning, but definitely a bit brighter. So what else been happening with everybody? How's your week? Everything good? What did I do this week? I don't know. I can't remember. It's hard to remember. I was supposed to go shooting today, but I was trying to work on this project to release for Saturday. And, Brian was like, hey, were you going to come? And I was like, I can't make it now. I thought I was going to be able to make it. I said, I'll be there by 5. And I was like, I can't get out. I can't. I got to finish this so I don't have to worry about it because it gets released Saturday. So it's one of the cafes that I visited in Tokyo called Cafe Bach. Interesting place. Interesting, nice coffee. But this weekend, I'm heading to VidCon, which is a YouTubers convention. And the YouTubers convention has two sides of it. There's the creator side where you go and you attend sessions and you learn about education stuff to like make better quality videos or run your channel better or something like that. And then there's the fan side. Well, my nephew wants to go. So he wants to see some of these creators that he follows on YouTube. And so basically, I was going to go into the industry side and he wants to go to the community side, the fan side. So I decided, you know what, I'll just go and hang out with him at the community side and see all the fan stuff. And, I don't know if there was a lot of the sessions on the industry track that I thought were really necessarily interesting for me. So I was just like, well, I'll go hang out with him and like take him around. And, he needs someone to, he's only like 11. You can't let him run around on his own. That would be craziness. Same paper filter. No, this is. We used the regular Melita this morning, right? I think it is. I mean, it does have similar characteristics to it. It just doesn't have it. Like this morning was heavily sweet. This is not as sweet. It has some sweetness. It has that low to medium acidity, but it just doesn't have that. There was really a beautiful sweetness this morning. I'm going to chalk it up to being, different water temperature. Yeah. I think you're right. I totally think there was the Melita this morning as well. I'm kind of cheap like that. I like the Melitas. I'm like, the Melitas I can get for, like I said the other day, the Melitas I can get for like, 400 at a time. If I wanted to go to Costco, it's easy to get. But if I want the other stuff, it's like, I got to go like have hard sourcing and spend more. Forget it. But yeah, it's pleasant. So, all right. Yeah, but I don't know what I don't know what I did this past week. I didn't go shooting because it was raining. Oh, it was raining. We had the hurricane or the tropical storm Ophelia, and like I was expecting, like I battened down the hatches right at home. Here at the roastery, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then Saturday, nothing happened. Friday, nothing happened. Saturday, nothing happened. I was like, not that I want disaster to happen. Like that's the worst. Like if I have like the roof caves in, and like water's everywhere, that's disaster, right? I don't want that. But it's just like, you were like preparing for like something and then nothing happened. So just kind of like, so I ended up being bored for the first time in a long time. So some of the guys came over, we had some cigars and sat around and like, shot the stuff and I don't know. Anyway, so let's get to the cigar of the week. So this week we've got a cigar from All Saints Cigar, and All Saints is a brand that's run out of Philadelphia from Mickey Pegg, and I met Mickey the first time last year at WeaselFest. Oh, maybe about a year ago. Oh no, that was the beginning of the month. So a year ago we met at hanging out at Skip Martin's house, and got along pretty well. He gave me a cigar. He gave me the dedication Comandante that we used back in December. There's a link to that episode down in the description. But when I was up at Cigar Mojo in King of Prussia about a month or so ago, or late August, that was one of the cigars I picked up. I thought, let's try this one. This is a different one. And so that's what we're going to use today. So let me grab it. As always, I've been keeping it in our official Coffee and Cigars humidor. Thank you, Rusty. And we're going to bust into it and see how's this thing doing? 2 years into it, still supple. Not totally like there's a little bit of hardness here and here in the corners, but man, 2 years into it, this 69% thing is just like rocking. So here's our All Saints. We've got next week's J London, and the week after La Pipa, and then the week after that, I think we're going to do this one. We're going to maybe we'll revisit this one, the 40th anniversary Aganorsa leaf, tobacco leaf. Those were a gift from Brian, so maybe I should redo those. All right, let's get our grading form. Right there it is. We're going to get our pen out. We're going to do our thirds, rule of thirds here. So typically, I think it's right about the band. Oh, no, probably here. And then right about there. So 1, 2, 3. All right, there we go. We're ready to go. Let's have a look. We're going to look here now on... let me bump this up a little bit so it looks a little bit more accurate. Whoa. That was too much. Sorry. There we go. That's going to be slightly better to give you a little bit better of an impression of how I'm going to say it's a Colorado wrapper. It's probably about there, right? All right, let's get into let me go back to here. We'll get into it. Cello's on kind of tight. This cigar and all of the All Saints are actually made in Esteli, Nicaragua, by Tabacalera Villa Cuba, Tabacusa in Esteli, which is the factory that's owned by Rocky Patel. So they're made by Rocky Patel. Light box press, right? It doesn't have that sharpness. It's just like there's still some bulbosity on here, right? You can see the bulbosity there. So hopefully that's going to give us a nice draw. Like, the nice thing about the box press is that they tend to have, more agreeable draw on the smoke. So we've got a nice color. I think the color is very nice. The finish is real nice. It's silky. It's really like no real big veins. The veins are a good size. Look at that. There's a big vein, but you don't really feel it. Like if I can only see it by looking at it. I don't really feel it. So actually, the construction looks really nice, really nice. And I got to be honest with you. Like, I've had quite a number of Rocky Patels over the years, and they never really hit my palate. Like, they're just not. They tend not to be agreeable to me. So anytime I hear that there's something made at Rocky Patel, I do have some reservation. And I got to say, one of the best ones of the cigars that we used back in 2021 during the first year of the show was the one for the World Smoking Championship, the Mareva, that little tiny Rocky Patel. Gosh, that was good. That was really, really great. Really couldn't believe it was Rocky Patel, to be honest with you. But this one looks nice. I mean, it looks like it's in good shape. So let's do some cutting. I'm going to cut this top off with our Zycar MTX, which is, now that Bud has one and I've had been able to use that, you can tell this one is not as sharp. Like, I probably should send it for sharpening or something like that. All right, let's see how the draw is. Super, super light draw, like super copiously like airflow coming through. very little resistance. Actually, like so little resistance that it makes me worried that about the smoke. So little resistance that I feel like there's just more air flowing through my palate or over my tongue than than any kind of flavor, discernible flavor. A little bit, there's a little bit, like maybe a little bit of hay, but I am sticking my tongue right up against the opening in some ways to maybe get some flavor as well as to reduce the amount of airflow through the cigar. But that's not sustainable. All right. Very light on the I'm going to say very light on the fragrance, very light on this. I'm going to have to say 7. So we're doing 7 here, very light, very light. And it's not the question of being light, but it's just like there's really not much to go on. George says this cigar with that lack of draw means the episode will be over. And then, Waldhead says the review form. Oh, doesn't? Let me have a look at this. How would I get there? Let me double check that and see. Oh. You know what? I don't know what in the world is going on there. Yeah, there's something wrong. Sorry. I will have to work on that. It's like I'll show you here. Like for me, it shows up with this it shows up like this for me. So that's definitely not the way it should. So by next week, I will make sure that we get, or maybe hopefully by tomorrow, I'll make sure that we figure out how to update it so that you can actually get the actual PDF. It's a PDF file, so it's meant to be easy to download. So my apology. All right, let's light up. Got our camel cigar matches with the very cool blue. I love the blue. Like I like the blue heads of these. I don't know why. It's just these little details in life that are just so enjoyable. All right, let's try. All right, there we are. We're lit. Dare I say there's a little bit of creaminess? Okay, so while there was a lot of flow, like I would say excess flow during the cold draw, the light has created some resistance to that. So it's not as free flow as it had been in the cold draw, which is good. There's some kind of spiciness on the tongue, maybe like a canela nutmeg kind of thing. The smoke production is good. Like there's a good amount of smoke that's coming. There's good draw. The draw is very positive. Where I was worried that the draw was going to be too loose, it's just about right. It's about right now. which is why you can never really tell. Sometimes you get the cigars and the cold draw is really tight. Sometimes it's really loose. And then when you light it, it just kind of like becomes okay. It becomes just right. So I think that's what's happening here. There is a nice complex spiciness to the cigar. Maybe even a little bit of like hints of pumpkin spice. Not to be confused with pumpkin, but the pumpkin spice. The nutmeg, the cinnamon, the whatever else. The black pepper. I mean, it's actually surprisingly good. Colorado wrapper. This has, so let's see what they talk about. One of the interesting things, this came out in like May of 2021, I think it was. And because it's been out for a little while, it's got quite a lot of following. So, or not following, but there's been a lot of reviews out there from different groups. And George says, I believe Cigar Authority used the Maduro wrapper when they chose it as Cigar of the Year. Yeah. You know, I didn't know there was much of a choice. I don't recall if they had the Maduro or not. I was just kind of like, I think I asked the guy at Mojo, I was like, which one should I try? And he was like, you know, I think he even talked about, I think he did have the Maduro. And I remember him talking something about one of the other cigars and how a lot of people liked them, but he liked this one better. I was like, all right, we'll try that one because I don't know the difference. So. But this one, surprisingly, quite a bit of spice on the front, like spice, complexity. Like, it's starting off very nicely, despite the very like meh kind of like cold draw fragrance. The initial light up is wow, interesting. Like I think it's a positive beginning. So it's supposed to be right around $9 or so, $10 for the cigar, which is a pretty good price. But I don't recall how much I paid for it in at Cigar Mojo. I mean, it is a pretty cigar, but like I was saying, so because it's been out for a while, there has been quite a number of reviews on it. Like right here, let's have a look at the. What's up, Brian? Brian's with us. What's going on, man? How are you doing? Good to have you. We're going to have a look here at Developing Palates. So Developing Palates. It looks like they had the. That's not a fair one. This is the Maduro, right? Okay, let's skip that because that's not apples to apples here. Is this the one? Habana? No. That's the Colorado Oscuro. What's going on with that? Cigar Authority. Oh yeah, they also use the for the Cigar of the Year, the different one, the Oscuro wrapper. This is the Colorado wrapper. Here we are, the Colorado from Blind Man's Puff. Let's see what they have to say. Colorado Shade, Ecuadorian Colorado Shade. There we are. So 1035. And, 88, 90, 92, 90, 87, 88, 97. Wow, that's some heavy duty. Construction 88. Huh. Had some construction problems there. Overall 88. Oh, all right. 88. 88 is the if it makes 88 with us, that's something. That says something. Tony says, in honor of the animal, moving to the Trinidad Espiritu Series number 2 Toro. Excellent. Nice work there. So it does have nice complexity. It's not heavy. Like I imagine that this Maduro that everybody liked in the reviews, the one from the Cigar of the Year 2021, probably had a lot more heaviness to it. Like this is not as heavy, I imagine. But it's got a lot of complexity. It's got good complexity to it, not a lot, good complexity. it feels like it's settling in. Like the light was kind of this burst of like spice and energy, and now it's just kind of like, okay, now that we've had the fanfare of the opening, now we're moving into the next segment, the more melodic segment. Now we're smoothing out and kind of getting ready for the ride. There is a nice aroma to it, a little bit of spiciness. There's a good spiciness to it. Ooh. The All Saints. St. Francis. So, as of course, St. Francis, Mickey is a big Catholic, right? And I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just my world, right? Like, I feel like I don't run into many Catholics, even though we live in Baltimore, right? But like as I travel around the world, a lot of people are, of course, are some other kind of Christian. So to meet a Catholic guy, like in the cigar world, like we're out at Austin, he's like, I got to go to mass tomorrow. I was like, oh, you go to mass every week? It's like, wow, dude, that's nice. I'm not that good at Catholics. Terrible. Mom's going to be like scandalized. It's like, oh, you don't follow the Lord. You're right. I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible. Sorry. But, it was nice to see. We're talking. He's like, we got back from like Saturday night. We're back and we're hanging out at Skip's house. It must be like 3, 4 in the morning by the time that I left to go back to my hotel. And he was going to bed. I was like, and the next morning I saw him and I was like, did you make it? He's like, of course. I was like, really, dude? It's impressive. I think he went to the 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock mass. I was like, wow, dude, nice. So it's interesting. So it's nice that he has these, All Saints. It's kind of Catholicism like related. So St. Francis is of St. Francis of Assisi. I would love to tell you more about him, but I don't really know. I just know he's important. He's important in the Catholic Church. He's important for us Catholics. He's important. I don't remember what he did. I don't think when it came time to going to confirmation class, like I was in a military school. I went to all boys military school from 1st to 8th grade. So finally, when we went to our parish and went to confirmation class when I was in 8th grade, I was introduced to girls, and I was like, oh my gosh, there are girls here. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. Collie Lake. I remember her, man. She was like beautiful. Like my eighth grade self. I can't even talk now. I'm still thinking about her. My 8th grade self was just like, I'm in love with you. I wonder whatever happened to her. So good smoke production, good draw. Like it's enjoyable. There's nothing. There's the flavors are enjoyable. There's nothing like you drink. Like I don't know. It's my experience. So I'm prejudiced, right? I'm prejudiced. When it comes to like Rocky Patel and Gurkha, like I'm scared to smoke their cigars because I've had enough times where I've just kind of like, this is not worth my time. This is not worth the money. So every time I think about them, I'm like, oh, I would rather, and you know how it is. It's just human nature, right? We're never sometimes our purpose is not really about. Sometimes we talk about seeking the finest things, the best things, right? But in order to find the best things, you really must take a chance. You must go and make a leap of faith. But a lot of times we're really interested in not necessarily making that leap of faith to find the most incredible thing. We're just interested in preventing us from having a bad experience. And sometimes when it does come to cigars, like once you had enough cigars that you found disagreeable, or maybe you had one experience that was very disagreeable, it makes you kind of leery for future experiences. And I struggle with that as well. Oh, Steven's with us. What's going on, Steven? How are things down there in Phoenix? Doing well? I've been thinking lately I need to get out to like Arizona. Like, I would like to go see Phoenix. I would like to, have a cigar with you guys out there, check out the Pizza Bianco, then head down and visit Hoon's Coffee down in Tucson. They got a friend down in Ajo. So I was like, man, I need to go check it out. Maybe sometime in the winter when it's like a little bit more bearable to get out there. Plus, I saw that movie, Last Man Standing, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's Somerset, I think is Arizona, where the guy's like driving the car down to like jump over or drive over the Rio Grande. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna check that out too. But I saw this week, I don't know why I looked it up, but I was looking it up and because some of my friends were talking about going, and they're like, evidently you can get tickets from Baltimore to Tokyo for early November for just around $1,000. And I was like, oh, right around $1,000. That's super tempting. That's a great time to go. It's cool. It's colder. Like there's something about like, okay, so when you walk around the city like Tokyo during the summer and it's blisteringly hot, like Baltimore hot, like but you can just wear shorts and a t-shirt. So that's the best part. But when you go in the wintertime, you don't get that heat. So you can cool down easier, but it's also cold. So you have to and you have to wear more clothes. I don't know. Rusty's with us. No cigar again. Still on drug. Oh no, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get better soon, man. And you need to do a show at Arizona with Steven. I know we need to do that. That would be pretty dope. Maybe we sit there at his garage and just kind of like hang out in the heat. Two guys sweating, smoking cigars. It could be kind of fun. I feel like I'm going fast through this, right? Like are we going fast? I mean, how far have we gotten into this? Like we're getting close to the first third. There's the link. And we're getting, the burn is not bad, but it's for some reason it's burning upwards. Look at that. That's upwards. I don't know why that is. Right? Like it's folding upwards. Like it's a ramp. Normally you'd expect it to fall down, like if it were upside down like that, right? But either way, we're getting to the length where I start to like get a little bit nervous, like I want to tap it, but then tapping it also means that the cherry is more exposed, so there's less insulation. So there tends to be a cooling effect that happens when it's like this, and then it burns hotter when you tap it. So it's interesting. A coffee, cigars, and cars show. Ooh, that would be kind of fun. Maybe we do like a riding around, like Jerry Seinfeld does. Peyronie's disease. Wait, what is that? I heard that somewhere in the last few days. So if you're just joining us and you haven't told, let us know who you are. It's nice to see you out there. Thanks for tuning in. It's always nice. We're just we get together every Thursday night from 8 to 10, have a couple hours, just talking the talk and having some coffee. Tonight's coffee is a decaf Colombian from that I roasted. It's available online on our website, brocoffee.com. Come check it out. And we're having the All Saints St. Francis Colorado Toro that is actually pretty darn good. Like it's like, I mean, the last cigar we had, which was the Comandante, the Dedication Comandante, which we had back in December. What did that get? Let's see here. So that was back in December of 2022. So about a year, almost not almost a year ago. So it got 75.5, and not the greatest the highest scoring for the year, but definitely not the worst. But I think a solid, from what I remember, is a positive. And Rusty says, I see some new names on here other than the original cast. Roll call. Yeah, let us know if you're out there. I can't see a listing of people that are out there. So all I see is this limited, somewhat limited. Like all I see is like, oh, there's 9 people. It's like, oh, okay, cool. 9 to 11 or whatever it is. But it's nice. It's nice to have you. Thank you for joining us. If you're out there, let us know what cigar you're smoking, if you're drinking, or where you are, because we're always interested to know what you're smoking, what you're drinking with your smoke, and where you are physically smoking from. Like, are you in a lounge? Are you outside, in your house? Is your wife like berating you for smoking in her house that you pay the mortgage on? Or so maybe she pays the mortgage. All the better. And then you're the kept man. That's a good thing too. I sometimes wonder, would it be good to be a kept man? What would I do all day? Could I just wear like a silk robe and an ascot or cravat all day long, sipping champagne and smoking cigarettes or smoking cigars? That would be a nice way to live. That might be a nice way to live. Then I could make videos about that, just kind of lounging in my cravat. Not a bad way to go. Move to Miami. I think when you do those kind of lifestyle things, you got to move to Miami. Some of those like hip places. Me, I'd like to live in Honolulu, but you know what? That's not like, it's not. It doesn't have that sexiness of Miami, right? It just does that whole like Miami vice, like cocaine and drugs and cigars and guayaberas. You know, I don't know. That's what I think. That's what I think sometimes. So what's coming on this week? I don't know if you knew this, but there's a movie called The Creator that's starring Denzel Washington's son. What's his name? Jamel Washington or something Washington? Anyway, man, I saw the trailer for it like 2 months ago, and I was like, holy moly. It kind of has this Blade Runner-esque feel to it. And I was like, oh, man, that looks crazy good. So I've been like so waiting for this movie to come out. And it finally came out. And Baldhead says, and bikinis. And bikinis. Que no. And George is having the La Roma de Cuba Reserva with a vodka martini alone on the balcony. You know, sometimes it's really nice to sit on your own and just chill without all the discussion or the talking. Sometimes you're around people and they're just talking. You're like, why am I listening to this talking? I should just go find myself a place and get myself a cigar and just sit down and be alone. Sometimes that's really nice. Sometimes that's really nice. But anyway, so this creator, I mean, it just looks cool. So what it is, it's about like the humans, us, have created artificial intelligence like we have, and have created androids like we are on the verge of. And these androids are sentient of some level, which will happen. No matter how many times these guys will tell us that cannot happen. Anyway, so evidently the storyline is something how we have these androids that are AI, and they are aware, and we realize that, oh, they're a threat, so we must eradicate them. So the United States of America is trying to eradicate all of the androids, whereas the Asian nations are not, right? They're okay with it. They're like, okay, these are people like us, so we're going to let them live. And so they're trying. So Washington is part of this elite, like SEALs or something like that. They must go out and kill the super weapon, which is this evidently AI robotic child. Now, of course, it pulls on, like, if you think about it, let's really think about it. Like, you have this child, it's pulling on your heartstrings, but it's like, it's AI. How can it have, it's a robot. Heck, it's not growing. It's a robot. So, you know, of course, there's going to be that whole thing about like, oh, do I kill a child? But anyway, it looks fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Brian. It looks fantastic. And a lady in a bikini would definitely improve the balance. Well, we'll have to call someone. And then Brian's also having the Romacraft Volstead Robusto. What do you think about that cigar? How's that smoking for you? I'm interested. And Tony says the historical documents have proven AI gone. That's the thing. Like, you see those Boston Robotics videos with the guy with the robots that are like running around shooting people or not shooting people, but the people are shooting them and they refrain. Like, how long is that really going to last? Like, you're shooting this AI robot, and eventually that robot's going to get pissed off. Like, it's like, stop shooting me. I'm going to override Isaac Asimov's rules and shoot you back. And so that's kind of what's happening, and evidently in the creator. So it actually comes out tonight. There was a screening at 7:10. There's a screening at like 10:10 or something like that, 7:50 and 10:10. I was like, could I make it? Like, for example, 10:10 is the screening time. But these theaters, man, they give you like all these trailers. It takes another 20 minutes. So the movie won't even start till 10:30. There's always that possibility. Maybe I'll just truck on over there and watch it tonight. If not, I was thinking 1:30, there's a showing tomorrow. The nice thing about seeing it during the day tomorrow is that, you get matinee prices. So instead of $22.50, it's like, I don't know, $14.50, $18.50, something like that. Yeah, it totally has that Blade Runner-esque to it. Like, definitely that whole, like, I'm going to have to kill this replicant, and I'm not going to kill the replicant because now it's a child, right? I'm totally with you on that. Young Ma, what's going on, Young Ma? How are you, man? Good to see you. How have you been? We haven't seen you in a while. I guess I figured it's like summertime. You're off like fishing all over the world. So hope things are well. Hope things are good up there in New York. And Brian says, if I smoke incredibly slow, I really... Well, that's not your MO, my friend. That's not your MO. I got to say, as much as I thought the Quinco Hanari was a nice cigar, smoked well, had good experience with it, and I even like the Volsteads, they don't really replace the Revenge for me. I still like the Revenge as my go-to. Like the other night, we had some small cigars, had a Revenge friend of mine. Dave gave me one. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Nice to have that flavor, that taste, that robustness. It's a robust, strong cigar, Now, when it comes to the scoring, like if you recall, like we did that last year, and there's always that thought that if you're doing cigar reviews, your favorite cigar is going to get the best score, and actually, it didn't get the best score last year. Like last year, here it is from last year, 81.75. So kind of upper third, but not the best, right? So I think that's something, we're not always smoking like what we may rate as the highest, just what really hits our palate. And that Revenge really hits my flavor points really well. And Tony asks, are you even capable of smoking slow there, Brian? I try to smoke slow myself, and it just doesn't work out for me. Oh, that reminds me. Let's go here. We are past the first third. So we've had good flavor. I gotta say it's good. The flavor has been good, but is it very good? Like I gotta say, like good plus, so 7.5. The body has been relatively medium mild. Maybe the body quality, I'll say 8. Very good. Smoke production, fantastic. Great. At least very good so far. Like I said, so we had the opening, right? When we opened the cigar, right? It was very like a fanfare, you go to a Broadway show and they give you the whole fanfare thing, dun, 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 and then they get into it. And so after the first bit of the first third, we had the fanfare, and then we're like I said, we're settling into the journey. And so we've settled into the journey, and it's been enjoyable. It hasn't been terribly exciting, but it has been very enjoyable. Like the smoke production is really good. Like the construction cigar is, I mean, the construction's been excellent so far. No problems with burn issues. Like maybe this little unevenness in the burn is maybe because of the way that I smoke. Like I tend to smoke relatively fast, so I sometimes will have burn issues because I'm going fast. So I think I always try to I'm always trying to remember to slow down. I would like to try to train myself to just do one puff at a time. You know, like we talked about this last week, you know, like are you a one puff, two puff, three puff kind of person per draw? I tend to be a two or three. Like for me to pull that away from my mouth just now after one puff is actually difficult. I had to actually think about okay, gotta pull that away. And Baldhead says maybe the humidity pack was near the cigar. Well, I think the humidity pack was probably right on top of the cigar. I tend to just kind of drop them on. I don't really find though that having the humidity packs that close or touching the cigar really does anything untoward to the cigar. Like I don't think the burn issue, and I wouldn't even categorize this really as a burn issue. More probably my smoking technique issue, right? Like I tend to be a relatively fast smoker, especially if I'm enjoying a cigar. Like then I'm really just puffing on it. Like, oh, I like that flavor. I want to keep that flavor going on the palate, right? So Baldhead, I'm curious to know what part of Canada are you from? I'm interested. I spent a bit of time over the years in Toronto. I used to be partners in a business in Mississauga. Back in the 90s when we were doing paintball, I had a little interest in a paintball retail shop out there. And then we spent a bit of time going to Edmonton when I was in the paintball era back in the 90s, competing in the Canadian National Championships up there. And then because then when I got into coffee, I spent a little bit of time also in Vancouver, visiting, you know, the coffee shops in Vancouver and getting to know people up there. So Canada's always been sort of a part of our existence and our journey. So well, Baldhead says, I'm from Toronto, but live in Ottawa. Well, that's a long time to live in Ottawa. And Brian wants to know, were you a fan of Corner Gas? I don't know what that is. I presume it's a TV show, but Brian knows what it is. We spent a lot of time in Toronto when I was younger. Going up there, hanging out, going to the nightclubs, going to the other kind of clubs. They were always better than the clubs here in the U.S. And so Ball gave up TV a long time ago. Oh, so I hear you on that. I don't watch TV much myself. Like the other day, we were watching at a friend's house and watching TV, and the commercials kept coming up. And I was like, my gosh, man, commercials. I haven't seen commercials in years. I don't really watch much terrestrial TV. So it's like, so I think we're going fast, right? 9 o'clock, we're here. About halfway through the second third. You know, while the flavor hasn't been terribly dynamic, it has been very consistent and very good. Ooh, very good. There's the description there. Got to remember that. Because that's going to lead our scoring for the second third. By that tone, by using that description, it's telling us that the cigar is progressing in a upward scale. It's getting better as we're going. All right. This is why we use the descriptions to guide us for scoring, because when as you describe the cigar, you don't really overthink the description. You overthink the number. Like you try to, like I noticed with a lot of judges that I worked with, they'll think of a number, and then they'll try to defend that number, even though their description is completely different than the number. But so the creator, go back to the creator again. The creator actually, I learned recently that it's shot on a camera that you can buy at the store today. Like we're used to, like, when I was in the movies, we used Panavision Arriflex cameras, right? These are big, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 cameras running film. And then the new generation of digital cameras, like the Sony FX65, or now the new generations of Buranos and Venice, as well as the Arri Alexas. These are $100,000, $200,000 camera systems, right? Like you kit them out, man, you're spending $250,000. So quite prohibitive. But this movie, the creator, shot on a $4,000 camera. You can buy the Sony FX3 cinema camera for $3,800. And he bought that camera and he goes out and shoot with it. He shoots this entire movie on this FX3. And I don't know if he had one, he probably had multiples, right? And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But then, of course, he's using these PNS anamorphic 2-time lenses. I looked those up. I was like, how much are these lenses? One lens, the 40 millimeter prime, for example, that one lens, if you were to buy it, was $18,500. I was like, $18,000. That's over 4 times the price of the camera, which just goes to show you how important glass is. The glass is always more important than the camera itself in many respects. And if you spend your money on lenses and glass, that tends to last you generationally much longer than your cameras will, right? Like I'm still using some FD lenses from the 1980s, and I can actually adapt them onto our modern camera. So I've got the FX30, which is the little brother of the FX3. Baldhead asks, red cameras? No, the red, even the reds are quite expensive. You want to buy a nice little tiny red Komodo, you're starting, I think, around $5,000 for the body, and then you have to build it out. So the FX3 really is a really awesome camera. Now, the difference between the FX3 and the FX30 is there are some software differences as well as native ISO differences, but the FX30 is a smaller sensor, what they call, what people have been calling Super 35 or APS-C. I think personally the nomenclature of describing the APS-C sensor as a Super 35 is a little bit misleading, or it's not quite accurate. The APS-C sensor is slightly, if I remember, slightly smaller or slightly larger than the Super 35. So I don't know, whatever. It's the same. It all works. But to know that like you can take these cameras and potentially make something like the creator. So it's a whole different world now. It's a whole different world. Like when I was in film school, like, we would shoot, you could shoot a project in 16 millimeter. Like you get an Arri SR3 and you buy that, you got to buy the film. Then you got to shoot it. And who knows if you've done it correctly. You could totally have mucked it up. And then you process it, which costs a lot more money as well. And then you got to print it. So you're shooting on a negative film, right? And so you have to shoot that film, process it as a negative, and then you have to print it to a positive film, and then you can watch it. So all that is quite pricey. Now with these cameras, you can just it's what you see is what you get, right? You set your exposure, and on your screen you can see exactly what it's going to look like. It's really, and then you can capture such detail. It's really amazing. Like this, they're saying that on this movie for the creator, like the night scenes are shot in camera with very little external lighting. Like typically, if you ever go to a movie set, especially at night, and you look at the street, or let's say we're outside, we're shooting a house or on a street, and you see the big 15K HMIs, and like they're flooding the street with light. You look at it, you're like, wow, it's bright as all hell out here. But you're shooting 500 speed film. So when you actually see it on screen, it's really much darker than it looked to your naked eye. So it's really a fascinating thing that now and so let's say you take your 400, 500 speed film, you push it to 800, right? You're on your exposure settings, and then you change the processing so you process it longer so you get the emulsion to come out. Now you just turn the knob and set your Sony FX3 to 12,800 ISO, and you're shooting all these night scenes for the creator in pretty much existing light. And edit the film on, oh yeah, the old Steenbecks. So were you in the business there, Bald? You sound like you might have been. I remember my first movie was a movie called Major League 2 back in 1992 or 93. We were working on it, and I think it was 93. And I remember they brought the editor out from LA, and he set up in the production offices. So we had production office on one floor, like 33rd floor, and then on the 35th floor, we had our screening room and editorial. And I go hang out the editor every once in a while. And he's got the old Moviola. And if you know the Moviolas, they're the flatbeds you're talking about, the Steenbecks, right? Or flatbeds. Well, this guy had the movie. He was the old Moviola guy. So it was an upright. And he's got like clips of the films hanging from everywhere. He's just like, he's manipulating. I was like, whoa, dude, that's amazing. He's pulling it out. He's splicing it. He's splicing the other piece in. It was really, really impressive what he was doing. I was like, wow. And Brian says, I was considering old guy carving. Ah. Oh, and Bald's best friend had a post-production business in Toronto, so you totally know what we're talking about. Moviolas, they were totally cool. I didn't understand. Like, I understood the basic concept of how to do it, but these guys were amazing. They would know all the clips, all the films that they would cut out, all the scenes they would cut out, all the angles, the shots they would cut out, and somehow they were able to just find it all. And it's the same with a Steenbeck, but I don't know, the Moviola just seems so much more like crazy to me. And then, of course, back then, I really got more into video editing. So we were using like 3/4-inch U-matic linear tape editing. And then eventually we got to the non-linear stuff, and it was like, whoa, like the Avid. Like I never really used Avid because I really wasn't in post. I was more in production rather than post. But it was always like a fascinating. And then now to see what we have today, like in the YouTube world that we have access to, cameras and software, it's like if we had that in film school back in the early 90s, it'd be theoretically we would have made much better production. Theoretically. Flatbed could handle about 6 reels of yes. I remember that. Gosh, man. Good times. But anyway, so I'm really excited to see this creator, because especially now that I know that they're shooting on a relatively, affordable camera with unaffordable lens, unobtainium lenses, but obtainium camera. But I guess it goes back to showing that it's not necessarily about the equipment. It's always about the talent, right? How good you are as a filmmaker to make something. And Ball says, I remember stamp drives for the Avid. It was ridiculous. Yeah, now they're so big. Now you get these arrays, these like NASA arrays that are like, multiples, terabytes, instead of like megabytes. And George says, Oro just won their 100 game in first place in the AL East. Oh, excellent. What a turnaround from 60 below 503. Actually, I saw a friend of mine. Oh, it's going out. Like, I don't know what happened here, but it totally has gone out. Yeah, it's out. Well, that's just 1 minute. Now I'm going to have a little bitterness. Let's do a relight. Yeah, one of my friends was posting on the Facebook today. He was at tonight's game. He had seats directly behind home plate. Like, I mean, he was up against the wall. Like, I was like, dude, those are some dope seats. And across the aisle from him was Cal Ripken. I was like, whoa, Cal Ripken's there? Cal's wishing that he had been able to be on a team that was in the postseason. Of course, I'm saying that but I don't recall. Maybe was Cal on the team back in '83? Was he old enough to play back then? And also in Orioles news, as a lot of you from Baltimore already know, Brooks Robinson died yesterday. And if you're not sure from Brooks is one of the famous Orioles. He's third baseman, right? Yeah, third base. One of our kind of local heroes as I was growing up. And so it's kind of sad. Everyone's like playing, you see people talking about it and posting about like their memories with Brooks, and a good guy. Jays may get in the playoffs this year, maybe. Oh, well, good luck on that. The Blue Jays, hope they do well. Okay, I'm taking the band off now. We're getting close to we're not quite there. We're still a bit of ways from the second third. You can kind of see it there. There it is. So it's not this line, but this line. So almost there. Let's get this band off. Band comes off easily, which is nice. Nice looking band, right? A little bit of this cross. I'm not sure what the origins of the cross are. I'm sure it has something to do with Catholicism in some way. Anything on the back? Like those Roma guys are always putting stuff on the back of their bands or underneath their bands. Nothing here. Rusty says, I think his 1982-93 was his rookie year. 1983, man, when we went to the World Series and won, I was in 8th grade. That was the year I was in 8th grade. That was the year that I went to confirmation class and the year that I met Collett Lake. Totally the love of my life at that time. Yes, Jay, he was caught the final out. Oh, he caught the final out of the way. Oh, excellent. And then RIP to the human vacuum. Yes, for sure. It's a sad day here in Baltimore with that. So still smoking well. Like, I mean, I will say, I'll go again back what I'm saying. The second third has been very good so far. We should have a little coffee. A little bit of our decaf, our ethyl acetate decaffeinated decaf from the Valle de Cauca in Colombia. This is a Catura Castillo blend of varieties. And, now it's nice. It like, Bald, it doesn't have the sweetness that it did this morning. And Mom, I don't have the sweetness from the morning. But it's nice. It's still pleasant. And smoke production, still very good. Lots of smoke, draws easy. The nice thing about the relight, I did the Cirillo McLean style of relighting around the rim rather than trying to get down the center. And that tends to give a softer relight. Like, when you have a little bit of ash and you squeeze it out and you kind of expose that kind of crater, and then you light into it, it gets to be very bitter, acrid on the relight for hopefully just the first few moments. But every time I've used this Cirillo style, it always relights really nicely. I think that's one of the best cigar techniques I've ever been taught in all the years I've been smoking. Because sometimes cigars will go out, whether you're talking about it or you're just talking too much or not smoking enough. Sometimes it goes out. I don't know why this one went out. Like, I don't think that I was too slow on it. I tend to be faster than slow, but to Baldhead's point, maybe that's where the Boveda was touching. So what else has been happening in the world? Anything interesting? Looks like the government's going to a shutdown because, like last week, we were talking about this last week, the Republicans just kind of left. They went home for the weekend. They're like, whatever, we're going to go home. Like, what? So I don't know it doesn't seem like they have been able to rectify whatever they're trying to rectify. I don't really know what they're trying to rectify because I'm not really following it too well, because I just figure they'll do it. They'll figure it out at some point, or government will shut down, and then people get mad, and they're going to have to do something. Evidently, Donald Trump was trying to delay his trial, and the court has rejected that. And they say that Disney's password sharing crackdown has begun. So if you're a Disney Plus member and you're sharing your passwords with everybody, they're coming after you. They're coming after you. Now that they've got the Writers Guild strike almost over, and they've got a new contract with the writers, and they'll probably have a new contract with the SAG people, the actors, soon, and they're not going to be able to make as much money as they had been in the past. They're going to have to come down on something, and so that's where they're going to come down on. But that's going to be interesting. The strikes look like they're kind of coming to a close after, 10 months or something? Pretty much everybody in the industry has been hurting, from what I've been told. When I talk to my friends in the business, they're like, yeah, it really sucks. One of my friends that does storyboarding, like he's been in a little bit different position because he's been storyboarding the next season of Stranger Things. And evidently they had already written all the scripts before the strike. And so they just ran out of scripts to storyboard like last month or just within the last couple of weeks. So, and that's the thing. So like everything's been on hold for the last 10 months. And if they can wrap up this WGA thing and then SAG can wrap up relatively soon, it stands possible that, a lot of the network shows that are normally coming out in September, October will come out, maybe they'll be able to get some of the episodes out before the end of the year. Maybe. Depends how fast they go. Because typically you'll start production in July for September, for the fall. So there's only maybe a month and a half of lead time. And so maybe. Or they might just studios might just, cascade it out until 2024. Steve says that the Diamondbacks are in second place in the National League West. Oh, excellent. Good luck on that. And Brian says Orange County businesses are hurting or folded. Big impact with the strike. Yeah. You mean Orange County, California, I imagine. They just had that Farmingdale crash last week, in Orange County, New York, where the Orange County Choppers was, or is, or I don't know if they're still there. I did go visit them one time. Huge facility. This was after their super mega success. They built this huge showroom and workshop, and I got to visit it one year when I was driving around that area. And I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. Oh, also one thing, since we're a coffee and cigar show, tomorrow is National Coffee Day 2023. Let me pull this up here. Free coffee from Dunkin', Krispy Kreme, Pete's, and more. Oh. So let's see. The NCA, National Coffee Association, has said that Americans drink about 517 million cups of coffee a day. So October, National Coffee Day is Friday. International Coffee Day is on October 1st. Wow. So let's see here. Baskin is going to have flavor of the month as Coffee Shop Cold. No, they're not giving free. Who's giving away free coffee? Black Rock. Who even knows who these people are? Black and Bold. Oh, customers get free shipping. Buy two, get one free. Blue Bottle. Bub's Natural. Caribou. Medium espresso shaker for $3. Get $1 off on October 1st, on Sunday. Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, we don't have any around here. Cumberland Farms, none around here either. Cold Coffee. Dunkin', free iced or hot coffee for Dunkin' Rewards members with any purchase on Friday. So buy a donut and get some free coffee tomorrow. Joe in New York. Rusty, if you want to drive in the city, $1 off any cold strato. That's not worth driving in the city. Forget that. Krispy Kreme, free medium hot or iced coffee at Krispy Kreme. No purchase necessary. Although I can't imagine, that's something I was at. Matt came by last week or something like that, and he stopped by. He did an event with that they had Krispy Kreme, so he brought a box of Krispy Kremes, a dozen of them, and I was like, oh my god, man, I haven't had Krispy Kreme in over 10 years. So I had one. I was like, oh my goodness, so good. So I've forgotten how good they were. When I had the Shave Ice business, the first iteration of the Shave Ice business, We were in this parking lot next door to Krispy Kreme, so we got to know the staff really well. So we would get free Krispy Kreme hot off the presses all the time. It was for tummy wise, it was for, fat guy wise, that's the worst. That was the worst part of my life, fantastic part of my life, but probably the worst. But but man, the Krispy Kreme was so good. Rusty says, Wawa has been giving free coffee to teachers. Oh, all right. Excellent. And Brian said, Burbank, California. Gotcha. Yeah. A lot of businesses, a lot of movie businesses down there. Only hot coffee from Wawa. That's all right. This hot coffee is pretty good. Actually, I've never had Wawa's coffee, so I don't know. But hopefully it's good. Brian says that Dave's going to be all over the Dunkin' Donuts offer. Dave's going to go to every Dunkin' Donuts in the region just so he can, that way they won't know that it's him again. Like, hey, weren't you here a couple hours ago? No. Good for Wawa. Very nice. Excellent. Is Wawa's good? I haven't really had their coffee. I haven't really had coffee. I've had Dunkin'. Who else is it called? What other coffee? I think I've had Krispy Kreme once, but that was like 20 years ago. I tend not to get coffee much out in the world. All right, how are we doing now? Are we to the last? No, we're just shy of the final of finishing the second third. I don't know what else is going on in the world. Oh, so Bald, since you're from Canada, I remember like a week or two ago we were talking about the row that you guys were having with India. Has that been settled? Because I remember India announcing that they were not going to give visas to Canadians. And I was like, what, Canadians? Like, Canadians? When do people hate on Canadians? Like, that seems incongruent. Like, I see why they hate on Americans. But Canadians, they're just nice people that say A a lot. And evidently, Taylor Swift is now going with Travis Kelce. We said this last week, right? We talked about it. Maybe we talked about it. I think we did, but we, some people are, like, why is she going out with this guy? But I was like, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. If you're a Swiftie, it's a great thing because in a few months, he's going to break her heart and she's going to write a new album. Swifties rejoice. My niece wants to go see, what's her name? Olivia Rodrigo. Evidently, Olivia Rodrigo is coming to Baltimore or to DC to the Capital One Arena, July 2024. Sold out. So if you have any connections that I can get tickets to go see Olivia Rodrigo, 4 tickets would be great. 2 is awesome. Let me know. I told my sister-in-law I'd try to help and figure out. I called some friends that I thought might be connected enough, and they didn't have any connections for it. So Bald says, yes, it's still going on. Lots of Sikhs in Canada, over 750,000. Wow. And if I remember correctly, a Sikh leader who I guess was a dissenter to the Indian government was assassinated in Vancouver. Is that right? And that's why Canada was upset and accused Indian intelligence of, violating the sovereignty of Canada by killing one of your citizens. I get that. That's something. It's a circle of life. Yes, it is. You're right. Bald head, my cigar has gone to the last third. Yucky. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Maybe 2025, maybe 2005 wasn't a great year. But maybe, keep going with it. Maybe it might smoothen out. Sometimes it happens. Other times not. I'm cheap, so I tend to smoke it if I don't like it. There's only a couple times. Actually, there's only been really one time when I didn't. That was this summer. Brian had been smoking these Camacho Robusto or Coronas or whatever, these big Camacho, the blue label Ecuadorian wrapper. And man, he'd been complaining about them. I was like, why are you complaining about them? I had them in the past, Corona size. They were pretty good. And so I tried one. Oh my gosh, man. Really significantly bad. Like I didn't really get to the band. I was like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I can't hang on. We think the Indian government ordered the hit on the guy. Oh, yeah. The India. Sorry. I remember you mentioning about the Indian reservation. I was thinking the Indians. Oh, yeah, the Indians. Got it. But it is a pretty mild cigar for a Cuban. Oh, okay, good. And Brian says, yeah, those were terrible. Those were so terrible. Like I'm impressed that you smoked through your box. Like I don't know if I could have done that. Like that was significantly bad. Now, speaking of which, have you guys? I don't mean to insinuate that, but I finally watched the Continental, the John Wick miniseries that came out. And if you're not familiar, so the John Wick, there's the whole John Wick world, right? If you're familiar with John Wick, there's this whole like mythology with John Wick about the high table and all this like world of underworld of criminal organization. So this prequel takes place in the 1970s at the Continental Hotel before Shane's character takes over. Mel Gibson plays a character that runs the Continental in the 1970s. And man, they really make New York look terrible. Like it's really a pit. It looks like a pit. And I was really young in the 70s, so I don't recall going to New York back then. I went to New York in the 80s, and it was pretty rough in the 80s. But the movie itself, I read some reviews on it, and people were really down on the Continental, but I didn't think it was as bad as the reviews. I get what they were saying. Like there's a whole ensemble cast where there's a lot of people that you have to follow in the movie or the show. It's a 3-part series, but I think each episode's like 90 minutes long, so it's almost like a full feature-length film for every episode. And I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Ball says, I have to see what non-Cubans are hiding in my coolers. Oh, yes. So you have coolers. Are we talking about the big igloo coolers? Like one of our friends, Dave, has like 6 of them, and he's like stockpiled an insane collection in these coolers. It's like, whoa, super impressive. Was that enough? You know what? I gotta be honest, I don't know. When it comes to shows, I really don't know what network they tend to be on. I'll say no more than that. But I think it's worth watching. And I finally got to see the new episode of Ahsoka. Watched that last night when I was having my cigar. And not bad. Like I'm still wondering how they're going to get from the galaxy that they're in now back to their normal galaxy. Like now that the hyperspace humpbacks have gone away, and I'm sure Grand Admiral Thrawn's not going to let them ride on his ship. So, and I think we're at episode 7. Like, well, how much longer are we going to have? All right, so we are definitely finished the second third. So I said it was very good. So I'm going to say 8. I think we really kind of static here on the body. Still kind of low medium. So 8 and 8. So we got 15, 5, 16. Still burning nicely, except for that one time when it went out. It's been burning nicely. When I used to travel for work, I always used to get a couple of boxes of duty frees. Still 2 huge coolers, but I haven't bought. How long has it been since you bought the cigars? Like this is your first time, and then you said in 2023. But has it been like did you smoke? Did you not smoke in 21, 22, or just you smoked maybe a year ago, and then this is the first one? Just curious. So in some news from a place called The View from the Wing, let's see what it says here. This seems interesting. Airlines promise to give you a hotel room when you're stuck overnight. Don't take the room. Why does it not say, when an airline calls you get stuck overnight, delay or cancellation, that's their fault, not because of weather. they generally commit to giving you a hotel room. So here's an interesting thing. So when a delay happens, they'll give you a hotel room. And mechanical issues that are not related to weather or ATC, I've always been under the impression that they have to give you a room. That's mandated by the FAA. But evidently, it's not mandated by the FAA. It's actually in Europe, when it's happened to me, I've always been accommodated. In Asia, I've been accommodated. But I think in those countries, those parts of the world, it is required by their governments, by their governing agencies. Here in the United States, so I found out recently that that's not the case. Only Frontier doesn't make that. Only Frontier doesn't make that blanket promise. Well, don't fly Frontier, for God's sake. Here's the thing. If you're going to fly, don't fly Frontier. Don't fly Spirit, right? I get it. They'll have cheaper fares and all this. But you know what? It's just, as someone that travels quite a bit, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your time. So this is American Airlines. They put you in this crappy hotel. Well, that's terrible. I've not had that experience. What else do they say? That's it? That's all they say? You may have to wait. You may have to wait in line, get a voucher, hope the hotel. I prefer booking airline tickets using a credit card that offers trip delay benefit. Oh yeah, but then you have to spend the money. Forget it. I don't like that. Give me the hotel room. I'll stay in any hotel room. Now, in the times that I've been stuck, when it's due to mechanical, and so far I really mostly only had mechanical issues, the airline has always accommodated us. Now, I don't know if that's because I have a higher level of status, so I don't really worry about it. But like I remember one time we were I was flying through Frankfurt. I think I was coming from Paris. I was flying through Frankfurt. It was the middle of summer. And I'm at the lounge. I'm at the Red Carpet Club at the time. And I go down to the gate because it's almost time to go. I get to the gate and like, it's almost pandemonium is just about to spring because they're announcing like our flight is being canceled because of the engine. They had to replace the engine on the aircraft. And so I was like, well, that's bad news. So now people are rushing to the counter, and I'm like, okay, I'm going back to the lounge. So I went back to the lounge, and I grabbed my phone and I called the airline, and I was like, oh, so there's a problem, blah 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 blah. And they're like, okay, we got you. We rebooked you on the next day or the day after, whatever it was. And we got your hotel room. You're good to go. Just go down to this place and jump on the bus. I went down, jumped on the bus. And they were like, you're going to stay at the Steinberger, which is not a bad hotel. There's a Steinberger right at Frankfurt Airport, and there's a Steinberger downtown. I ended up getting sent to the downtown one, which was, I was kind of like, oh, man, I got to go downtown. That's kind of bummers. But then it turned out to be a great time because I'm at the downtown Steinberger. We go to dinner because they have a dinner that they prepared for everyone. So you go down the buffet, and I sat down with these people, and I met this girl who was really attractive from Virginia. And so we ended up hanging out, going to drink beers, and she took me out to have doner because she used to live in Frankfurt. So I learned about Kolju doner and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful time. So, sometimes it can be a great, great thing. And Balt says 1 or 2 cigars a year for many years, used to smoke a couple a day. And he says that Frankfurt Airport sucks. Well, when you fly United, that's kind of the main hub in Europe. So I've kind of gotten used to it. The lounges aren't actually. I think the Lufthansa Senators Lounge are quite nice. Like they're nice enough, and like they have a smoking room. So typically, when I fly in, if I'm going on somewhere else, let's say like somewhere else in Europe, or let's say to Middle East or something, we stop in Frankfurt, usually there for 4, 5, 6 hours. We arrive at 6 in the morning. So I'll head over to the lounge, have breakfast at the lounge. Then I usually bring a cigar with me. So I'll go to the smoking room, have a cigar. And then this will burn up 3 hours. So I still got 2 more hours to go. So the next hour I'm I'm using the shower facility. So I'm taking a shower, changing into fresh clothes, and then we're on our way. So I get it. Frankfurt, not the greatest airport. It's huge. You got to walk around a lot. Only thing there was a free espresso, and it's a long way. Yes, gosh, sometimes it's like sometimes you have to get on the bus and go to like, what is it? Not the Z terminals, but like the other part of B or A or something like that, and you're way out there in the field. And then like what I don't like is they have the parking stands for the plane. So like, you're like, okay, good, let's get on board the plane. So you go down to the gate, and they're like, okay, go down to the gate, go down. Here's your ticket, scan your ticket, and then you have to go downstairs. walk down these stairs to the ground level, get on a bus, and then be bussed way out into the field somewhere. And then, you're exposed to the cold and it's raining. And man, one time I dropped my phone and so it cracked on the tarmac. I was like, this is terrible, terrible. And Brian wants to know, why bald head racing? I'm going to presume that you're bald and that you race cars. That's my presumption. Could be any kind of racing. Could be RC car control racing. Like, there used to be a place here called the Cockeysville Astrodome. I went there once to see what was going on, and they were on top of this building, and like they had this turf that they laid out, and they had this big RC track. I was like, this is fascinating. Like, there's all these enthusiasts there. I was like, wow, this is cool. I spent the whole Friday night there one time. Oh, not actually bald. I just presume. We presume. We make presumptions. Part of relative. Oh, that's cool. Like, were you like part of that, like, really truly hardcore rallying? Like I see those videos. I watch those videos, and I'm always like this. I remember this one video that I watched. There was this guy, and he's got his navigator, and they're roaring, and like they did something wrong, and they hit this berm or something, and they flipped over onto their roof. And I just remember the one guy was like so calm. He was such a professional. The car like hits the bump. They start to flip over, and all he does, he just kind of very casually reaches up his hand just to kind of stabilize himself, puts it like right on the cross member of the roll cage, and they bounce around. He was all like calm. I was like, that dude is a professional. Like, amazing. I was like, man. And then Bald says that somewhere on YouTube, there's a video of me crashing into the ocean in Newfoundland. Oh, is that on do you have like a channel that we can look at? Let's see. That sounds crazy good. Is there, do you have I'm looking that up right now. I'm bald head. I'm looking at that right now. I'm looking at your channel. Let's look at your channel. Hope you don't mind if all coffee stuff. Excellent. Oh, nice shower head. I like that. Oh, awesome. Oh, no crash videos here. But let's have a look at the bracket then. Oh. I would try this on my on my Toyota Tacoma, but it's automatic, and I would probably just be hitting the brake. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I am curious now that we've seen your video about the heel toe. I noticed on your shoe it's torn. Is that because of the heel toe thing? Like, it got caught on the pedal and you tore it? And are there specialized shoes for rallying, now that I think about it? That sounds kind of interesting. But that's cool, man. Like, that's some cool stuff. I always thought that it'd be kind of cool to do that myself when I had a GTI. I never got into it. You see this, you realize after a while that, those guys are like amazing drivers. I'm just a driver. I can barely drive. So it's like, that would be probably bad for me. But I always like the idea of having the computers, and like you have the sequential shifting. I was like, that's kind of nice. Oh, piloty driving shoes, just old ones. Gotcha. Yeah. My Vans are like that too. They're all kind of worn. The canvas is worn because I got wide feet, and so like the rubber soles are not meant for wide feet. So after a while, like I guess all the years of rubbing on my toe, my small toe, it kind of broke free, and now my toe will stick out. So I don't wear those anymore. But like this summer, I've been on this quest. Speaking of these shoes, like the Vans, right? Like the nice thing about Vans, canvas Vans, you just wear without socks, right? It's kind of weird to wear socks with them, or at least for me it is. So I've been on this whole kick. I bought these new boat shoes. These, like, I don't know if they're Sebagos or something. The kind of like mesh and leather. And I've been on this whole quest this summer, like no sock summer. Like I want to order socks, no socks this summer. Once it gets cold, I'll go back to socks. But I'm trying not to wear socks all summer. So I've only been wearing shoes that don't require me to wear socks. It's a weird quirk. I don't know what happened to me. Like I just got weird about that. I was like, oh, I gotta have no sock summer. What else is happening? Is anything else interesting in the news? I saw a blurb again. There's the Google News always feeds me, like, I don't know why they do it, but maybe because I read it some of it, but they're always sending me stuff about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I'm like, what do you keep sending me? It's like they have so much, people write so much stuff about them. It's like, how can any of this be true? Like they're talking about them getting separated and divorced. And one article today, they were talking about like she didn't go to the Invictus games. I don't know what Invictus is. I'm presuming that it's some kind of football club that he belongs to or he owns. And they had their game opener, and she didn't go because she's taking care of the kids. And then she didn't go to the king's coronation because she's taking care of the kids. And this one lady is like talking about, oh, this is bad for her and like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, God, who cares? Like, why is this? What are we worried so much about it? Oh, some smokiness. Oh, and I don't know if you heard about this today, but Michael Gambon, the second guy to play Dumbledore, passed away today, 82 years old. Some guy I saw on the internet was being clever. He was talking about how Severus Snape is the one that did it. It's like Severus has done it from the great beyond in that white train station. Baldhead says Invictus is like the mini Olympics for disabled people. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, gotcha. So he's a patron of Invictus. Is that it? And then he was there for the opening of the games. Okay, that makes sense. That would have been a nice event to go to. Like they like to portray Meghan as like, I guess like a gold digger, but I don't know. It's like these people have such different lives. She wants to be a movie star. He just wants to be. He was a royal, and so he gave all that up. And like I was wondering, like if they did get divorced, right? Let's say they get divorced. Can he go back to being a royal? Like he's shunned it, like he's walked away from it. Does he get the chance to go back and reclaim his position within the royal family? Oh, and Gambon was also, oh, I didn't realize that. All right. I thought he was a great Dumbledore. Like I watched all the movies when they came out. Actually, I didn't realize that they had switched Dumbledores. I was like, oh, until like after somebody said that to me. And Brian says, I totally want to see The Crash. If not this week, then maybe next. So, all right, we'll see what we can do about that. I kind of want to see it too. So I'm curious, like since you're rallying, what kind of vehicle were you rallying with? And were you the driver or the navigator? Or do you do both? Is that something that enthusiasts or professionals will switch out between the two positions? Like you see those guys doing the rally like in the Isle of Wight, and it's like, oh my God, man, these guys are flying down the road. And like, all the videos you see of like rallying, these guys are like, I mean, how speed are they going? Like I'm presuming they're like over 100 miles an hour. Oh, Porsche 9544. Oh, Porsche. That's some serious stuff there. It's one thing to like rally and like crash a Renault or Fiat, but to rally a 944, oh, that's some impressive stuff, man. And I imagine that with a 944, you have to raise it, right? You have to lift the car somehow. Like, is it springs, or do you actually change the axles and the I don't really know what else to call it. The swing of the arm, the suspension, the suspension arms. You have to change those as well to get that kind of height. So this cigar, man, you know, I gotta say, it's now that we're getting close to the end, right? It is, the heat of the smoke is getting hotter, more because I guess the proximity of the burn to the end of the cigar. But I'd still say it's still performing the same way, still very good. Oh, he just did a tarmac rally, no gravel. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, and so the car was lowered. Oh, fascinating. I always thought rallies were about lifting the cars to clear that. Okay. So you learn something new all the time on the Coffee and Cigars live stream. I'm definitely getting a little bit hotter now. Now that we're getting closer, let's go and have a look back at some of the other reviews and see how they did. We'll go to the cigar. Oh, that's Cigar Authority. They have, that was the Maduro, so that's not the same. That's also Maduro. That's not the same. How about developing pals? We already looked at these guys, right? Oh no, that's the same one. It was this one. Oh no, it was this one. I guess that's the only one that we have to show. How about this one? Oh, that's also the Maduro. Cigar Dojo, also the Maduro. Gosh, everything is Maduro. Oh, I guess I chose poorly. And Brian says tarmac rally takes balls. I agree with you. I agree. All that stuff I think takes balls. What wrapper is mine? My wrapper, they say this wrapper is Ecuadorian. Oh, that's not the same one. Where's the one here? Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, this one. Here we go. It's a Ecuadorian Colorado wrapper. So a lighter Ecuadorian wrapper. Where is the specs here? Here we are. Ecuadorian Colorado shade. So shade grown tobacco wrapper leaf with Nicaraguan binder and filler. So they're saying overall experience is 88. I don't think we're going to get to 88 this time. So let's see what they have to say. The Mickey T says the cigar is fantastic. Like I said, I smoked this on the first day of fall. Perfect. Picked up plenty of cream, peanuts, white and black pepper, some good tea for measure. More of a morning cigar, first cigar of the day. The flavors don't have any progression. I agree with that. Like the flavors have been relatively static throughout. I do feel the quality of the smoke improved into the second third, but it has been relatively the same throughout. This guy, Jason, says that the final third really turned him up. I haven't had that experience. And then John A says that this cigar is very enjoyable if you take your time. Because of the looser draw, some cadence is required. I did think that it was very loose on the cold draw, but I thought the draw was good enough resistance during the rest of the smoke. And Bulgehead's asking, do people still smoke Connecticut wrappers? Yes, there's still a lot of Connecticut. Like I remember, if you remember back in the 90s, there was a lot of Connecticut wrapper stuff, and that kind of went away for the last like 10 years or so. And then just over the last like 5 or 6, 7 years, I think there's been a resurgence of Connecticut shade leaf. Like I think one of the really nicer ones is the Connecticut shade wrapped, the one from Drew Estate. What is it called? Tony, you know this one. Yeah, you know which one. I can't remember the Undercrown. The Undercrown shade. That's a really enjoyable one. I did have the Connecticut wrapped. What is the name of that cigar? The one from Padron. I had that when it came out in 2017. I did not like it. I thought that was a terrible cigar. Not enjoyable at all. Not horrible. Not enough to put it down, but definitely one that did not meet the $17 price point, and one that I definitely would not have. I have not bought again. Like some people have said that they have redesigned that blend to be better, but again, we're going back to that whole thing of like, you're trying to mitigate your losses rather than trying to find something incredible. So for me, it's like once I had that, I was like, I don't need to spend another $17 to find out that it's not enjoyable. But yeah, I think a lot of people are smoking Connecticut wrappers again. I think a lot of the Fuente green labels are still Connecticut wrapped, I think. I'm sure Tony will say if I'm wrong. Brian says that gravel rally only interests me when they're navigating through tree-lined roads or ice. Oh, ice. Ice, that sounds crazy. The one thing about those rally drivers, those gravel ones, they're like, I always kind of enjoy when you see them like leave the ground. I guess the Isle of Wight is a tarmac one, but they're always flying the cars. I'm like, oh, I like that. Like, that's some ballsy stuff. I've only done that once with my old GTI. There used to be this road here in Baltimore that had a pretty hard dip. Like it went up and down like this, really sharp. And like, I had never jumped the car on it, never. And so one day I was driving with this girl I was dating at the time. And I was gunning it. I was giving it right off, probably like 17 years old or something stupid, right? And it kind of like goes up and down, and then it like kind of turns slightly. So it's relative, and you could see the entire curvature through it, right? So it wasn't terribly like blind. I'm not terribly smart to try to jump. And I wasn't trying to jump it. I was just gutting it, right? I was just giving it, right? And suddenly the car goes up the berm, up the road. And I remember as we reached the peak of the bump, the gears started to grind. I was like, what? So I instinctively just pushed in the clutch, and then the car tilted slightly forward. I was like, holy crap. And then it hit. I was like, oh my God, I totally jumped the car. I had no idea. Of course, the car was lowered, so it's not really meant to be jumped. And I wasn't really trying to jump it, but it's not meant to be jumped. So when I looked at it later, the oil pan had dented inward. And so I pulled the oil pan to check it out. And the pump, there's a pump arm that comes down, right? It comes down like this. And that had bent up. And I was like, oh, darn it. Had to buy a new oil pan, replace that little like sump pump arm or whatever it's called. So that's my only brush with anything rally-ish. I gotta say though, even though we're at the end, the smoke is actually rather smooth. It's still a smooth smoking cigar. Like sometimes you get to the, with different cigars, like you'll get to the end, it gets a bit harsher, it gets a little bit harder to draw. And I have this issue where like the proximity of the smoke being generated from the burn will interfere with my nose, and like I'll kind of get this choking sensation. But that's not happening here as much. But I think we're good, close enough to look at our scoring here and go to the final score. So let's have a look here. I think we're still static with very good on both categories of flavor and body. Our burn and draw, actually, we did have it go out. So burn and draw have been very high. I'm going to say 8.75. Consistency has been 8.5. Let's see, we got 8, 8, 8, 8, 8.75, 8.5, 7.5. I'm going to say we're probably, I think we're going to be 8. I can't say that it would be 8.25. All right, let's calculate this sucker up. We got 16 here. So let's have a look here. We've got 7 plus 15.5 plus 16 plus 16 plus 8.75 plus 8.5 plus 8. And that gives us 79.75. All right, good. Remind me of the price. The price is right around $10. And would I buy it again? You know what? It's $10 cigar. I probably would buy it again. It's a pleasant enough smoke and not at a crazy price point. So I think that those are positives in that respect. I can't say that it's probably the most exciting cigar there. Like, does it replace the Revenge? I wouldn't say so for my personal smoking. But I think it's worth checking out, worth trying. The price point, like I said, is still very good. MSRP, I think, is like $9.75 or something like that. I don't recall what this cost me at Cigar Mojo. It was threatening to go out just now if I puffed on a little bit longer. All right, so let's look at how it does in our rankings for this year. 2023, 79.75. So that puts us right around the 25th cigar, 26th or 25th cigar of the year. We do have two. These two are tied. These two are tied. Oh, these two are tied as well. And these two tied are well. Oh, so we've got like 4 ties at 27, 26, so 22nd, technically 22nd cigar of the year. So not bad. Not a bad cigar. I mean, enjoyable enough, I would say. It's pretty good. Where's my cursor? There we go. So the wrapper has separated from the rest of the cigar, so it makes it harder to smoke. So I'm going to get rid of that wrapper. Oh, it's really not as nice without the wrapper. All right, that's enough. Put that down. All right, so there it is. The All Saints St. Francis Toro, Colorado, and 79.75 on the score. 24th cigar of the year out of, what are there, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 24 out of 30 with 4 ties. So nice. Rusty says, great show. Have to miss next week. Oh, well, Paris. Make sure you go down to, there's a place called Habana, something like that, Habana Lounge or something. It's an open air kind of bar that you can smoke cigars in. There's also a couple lounges that I looked up the other day for talking to somebody about that. So there's some nice places to smoke in Paris. What else is being Paris? If you have the time and you have time to go to the Marais, place called Robert Louis. It's right on Vue de Temple, and they have entrecôte, and they cook the entrecôte in a wood fireplace over wood. Fantastic, not terribly expensive, totally worth going. Another place that's really good is over in the 7th, just off the Rue de Saint-Dominique, which is not too far from the Eiffel Tower. And it's a Basque restaurant. What's it called? Let me look that up here really quickly for you. But I would say, those are 2 places that are still very, very good. Where is it? Let me show you here. I like to stay here, the Hotel 7 Eiffel. That's a real nice place. $142, not too bad. But this place, La Maison, great place to eat, fantastic food. It's kind of very French in that, the tables are really tight, so you just kind of like squeeze in and you sit next to all these people, but that's really nice. And then the place I was telling you that is in the Marais, where is it? Where are you? Here. Robert Louis on the Vue de Temple, fantastic restaurant. I was there one year right after the ban, and they were closing, and they came up to me, they're like, we're closing right now. And I was like, oh, should I leave? And they're like, no, but we just want to let you know we're closing, and people are going to smoke. So I ended up smoking some cigars while I was there, like 11 at night. Good time. So have a great trip. Hope it's a good one. Brian says, I'll definitely let you know if I go see the creator. And Tony says, good night. So yeah, there it is. All good. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you being here with us for another Thursday night hang. Back again next week with the J London. We got a cigar from J London, which is a cigar from a Philadelphia native that has his own brand. So we're going to check that out. And yeah, there it is. So hope you have a great week. Have a great weekend, and see you next time.